Check out this Pikachu card. Do you notice anything? Yeah, Pikachu doesn't usually have this black outlined white belly. That's because this is an early illustration by Ken Sugimori. Some of the other Pokemon in this set have quirks that didn't quite make it to the final design. And that's why I think that this set is sort of an imperfect masterpiece. But before this came the 1996 Carddass cards, and they look a little bit different. So how about we start there? Since the 96 series was released, a handful of TCG expansions came out, like Expansion Pack, Jungle, and Mystery of the Fossils, quickly outdating Bandai's design, so a redesign was mandatory if they wanted to make any sales. So the 97 cards actually got a full revamp. There aren't many design elements carried over from the 96 cards, and the new design is noticeably better when side by side. They added a border, a logo in the top right, the Pokemon's name and type, and it now says Pocket Monsters at the bottom instead of Monsters Collection. And the reverse of these cards got a redesign too. The data is the same, but it is presented more appealingly and now includes blue version data. In the top left, we have this little black box that tells us the type of Pokemon, along with a short description. In the top right, we have a smaller illustration that matches the front, but with height and weight underneath. Below this, we have the Pokemon's evolution line, if applicable. Then in the bottom left, we have this funny looking inverted triangle. This is a visual representation of the appearance data for the Japanese versions of Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue. However, this will sometimes be covered by a red stamp that says no data. For example, Omanyte and Omastar will say no data because they can't be found in the wild. A few Pokemon also have these Japanese characters, which translate into fishing, indicating that the Pokemon can only be caught by having a rod in the water. Lastly, in the bottom right, we get attack stats with type, power points, and a description of the attack. But the biggest upgrade by far is the exclusive Ken Sugimori artwork. Every single one of these cards has a original Sugimori illustration that can't be found anywhere else. And I suspect that these were drawn early on due to the unfinished character designs. Much like Pikachu's white belly, other Pokemon in this set have strange characteristics. Charmander has a bump on his back as if a spike is about to be sprouting up. Kakuna has what looks like arms or claws that separate from its body. Bellsprout appears to be using its roots to attack, which are a lot longer and whippier than we've ever seen. Cubone's rear spikes can be seen and are much pointier than usual. Omastar is launching the spikes off of its shells. Actually, a few Pokemon can seemingly launch parts of itself out, which seems canonical, but I couldn't find any other instances. Beedrill is seen shooting its stinger, and Cloyster is seen launching its spikes too. Each Pokemon is illustrated using a move, and if that Pokemon has a signature move, that's what it's doing. So this makes for some pretty wild illustrations. Fearow using Drill Peck, Weepinbell using Acid, Golem and Electrode and Coughing using either Explosion or Self-Destruct. Ponyta using Fire Spin, which is the most metal move I've ever seen. Doduo using Growl while twisting its necks together. Voltorb using Light Screen. Staryu using Swift. Jinx is interesting because it is still uncensored. Ditto using Transform. Flareon using Fire Spin, kind of similar to Ponyta. Dragonair using Dragon Rage, and Dragonite using Hyper Beam. And it gets even better, a handful of Pokemon are illustrated attacking other Pokemon. Arbok using Acid on a Diglett, Nidorina biting a Voltorb, Wigglytuff using Disable on a Psyduck, Paris using Leech Life on a Weedle, Parasect using Spore on a Psyduck, Kadabra using Psybeam on a Poliwag, Tentacruel using Constrict or Wrap, perhaps, on an Electrode, Dugong using Ice Beam on a Ditto, Gengar eating Snorlax's Dream, Krabby using Guillotine on a Ditto, Kingler using Crabhammer on a Ditto, Executor stomping a Diglett, Lickitung using Slam on a Weepinbell, Tangela using Constrict on a Psyduck, Mr. Mime using Barrier on a Wartortle, Tauros using Takedown on a Psyduck, Aerodactyl using Wing Attack on a Slowpoke, and of course Dratini using Bind on Charmander. Can you tell I just love these cards? I'm sorry for dumping all of this artwork all at once, but the really cool thing about this set is that since it is exclusive, a lot of collectors haven't seen these illustrations before. These came out of vending machines, by the way, the same ones that the 96 series came in, and that's why these cards are called Part 3 and 4. The Carddass products extend far beyond just Pokemon. They have a bunch of other IPs, and they were also all released in multiple parts. So for Pokemon, Part 3 was released in April 1997, and Part 4 was released in June 1997. That puts them right behind the Top Sun cards on a timeline. However, there's nothing on the actual cards that indicate if they came from Part 3 or Part 4. So these are considered one set as opposed to two smaller sets. Let's talk about the prisms. So these are the same as foil or holo cards, but they're called prisms instead. Similar to the TCG, the background of the illustration is reflective, while the rest of the card has solid ink. But here's the neat part, these are actually stickers. You can peel them off the card and stick them on your Sony Walkman. This is kind of unrelated, but that Pikachu card that I had in the intro is graded a PSA 6, probably because there's a small hair under the sticker. I guess this must have happened at the factory, so some of these cards comes with someone's DNA. But anyways, there are 16 prism cards for this set, and one rainbow foil card, and I'll circle back to that in just a second. The prisms consist of the most predictable Pokemon like the legendary birds, the evolved starters Mewtwo and Dragonite, but then also include some other favorites like Clefairy, Scyther, Gyarados, Eevee, Aerodactyl, Kabutops, Pikachu, which you already know, and one of my personal favorites, Omanyte. So those are the 16 prism cards, but there's one more, and that's Mew. Mew is represented in this set by occupying the only rainbow foil card, which has its own unique properties that set it apart from the prism foil. It also has a unique rainbow border that none of the other Pokemon have. And we're not done yet, there's two more secret cards. You can kind of think of these like old secret rares. First, we have file number 0, which features Red and the 4 Kanto starter Pokemon. This is phenomenal artwork, and again, we can see Pikachu's white belly and even Charmander's little bump on his back. This card was distributed in a Japanese department store called Ito Yokado in April 1997, so it wasn't available in the vending machines. And the second secret card has no file number, but instead reads Carddass in the top left corner. The artwork features both red and blue with Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise behind them. Red is also holding what appears to be an upside-down Pokeball, definitely a product of the franchise's early days. This card was also promotional, but this time it was only available through vending machines at the same Ito Yokado store in June 1997. These two secret cards, along with Mew, are the only ones with rainbow borders. Okay, so this set's composition can be a little bit confusing with regular cards, prisms, rainbows, and secret cards, so I made a cheat sheet. Link is in the description if you want to save it to your phone. And I should mention there's one jumbo card too. Who is it? Well, Pikachu, of course. Unfortunately, this piece is scarce, and I haven't seen them go for any less than $1,000 on eBay when they do very rarely pop up. So where are these cards today? Well, they never got an international release, so a lot of them are still in Japan. And since they're non-TCG cards, they don't really get that much attention, which is absolutely wild. It means they have flown under the radar and they are still very affordable. Thank you for watching.